According to the National Autistic Society, autism is a spectrum condition and affects people in different ways. Like all people, autistic people have their own strengths and weaknesses. That means that what one person struggles with autism will be completely different to another person. At the end of the day, it's just a neurological difference in the brain. Due to that, though, there are major problems when it comes to autism awareness. People hear neurological difference in the brain and they think it's a disease, we need to be coddled, and they end up being more condescending than anything. But what do autistic people actually think about the state of autism awareness? Well, let's find out. Okay, I'm here with Savannah.
Hi, I'm Savannah. I'm autistic.
Hi everybody, I'm here with Iris.
Hello.
Okay.
I think it's very biased. I think that the awareness for autism definitely, it's good that it's there, but it definitely gives off I feel like they promote only really hardcore autism and not lower spectrum autism like I have.
I feel like a lot of the time the awareness in like media or just in general representation for autism is often limited to like one side of the spectrum.
People hear autistic and they think instantly that you're going to be like an infant, and it's kind of annoying.
They never get actual like autistic people to represent like characters who are playing autistic characters in shows, for example, and I feel like that causes a lot of stereotypes.
Well, it took me 16 years to get a diagnosis because it's such a hard thing to get, and there's such a lack of awareness that I had no idea I had it for the longest time.
Growing up, I felt this is a weird way to explain it, but I felt like I was growing up like blending in, like I'm not like a real person, or I know I'm real, but I just felt as though my perception of things was so different from everyone else's and how everyone else was acting that it made me feel like I just wasn't a real person, or not real, but like an alien trying to fit in, like I was like in disguise or something.
It was getting diagnosed took like almost a year. That's how it's actually the normal wait time for a diagnosis is so long that some people just don't get them in general because it can take up to a year or two just to be on a wait list.
I just never really like understood social cues, and for like another thing that definitely made me feel different was how people like treated me because of it. Like, for example, not picking up on social cues like definitely affected my convos and like my friendships.
I've had teachers try to help me the best way they could, but doctors initially just were like, no, it couldn't be autism. It's probably just ADHD.
I feel like for my teachers, like I really want to like talk about that because I think growing up, teachers are like the most important thing ever. I'm really passionate about that. Like having a good teacher will like change your whole school perspective. For me personally, I feel like I was like really disrespected by a lot of my teachers growing up. Like majority of them, I can't say I had a good experience with them. The ones I did have good experiences with, it was like one in like my high school year, and that's because he was also like low-key autistic.
Especially as a girl, getting a diagnosis was a little more hard, but the doctors that I've been working with recently at a specific center have been really nice and understanding. So I guess it's not overall all bad, but sometimes I feel like they can be not very understanding. Yeah, if you don't walk in there drooling from the mouth, they think, it couldn't be autism.
If you don't walk in here screaming with your arms curled, you don't have autism.
Because we're lower end, like I feel like that's a great thing to bring up because they treat us as though we either have to be like you said, like coddled, like full on like babied, or we be treated like we're not autistic. And like they get mad at us or like act weirdly.
Yeah, Savannah said being a woman, it was really hard to get a diagnosis or get people to notice that she had autism. Do you feel that there's like a gender bias to it?
100%. Like me and this one kid, we were like low-key the same. I'm not gonna lie. Like I think that's why I hated him so much. He was taken more seriously for it. and he and me would always like clash. I don't know why. Like it was like autism wars, but and because of that, I would be like doing like just like doing the same exact thing he was doing, or like similar traits, and like we would both be having like autistic meltdowns or shit like that at the same time, and I would be like so dismissed and like more belittled. Like he would literally tell me some crazy ass shit. Sorry, leave that out. But he would tell me wild things. Like he insulted. Like he made a song about my dead grandma.
I feel like there could definitely be more awareness about people on the lower spectrum of autism with like high functioning autism, and I feel like there should be more money put in place for like assistance, and wait lists should never be this long. But if we could encourage people to want to go into that kind of workforce to help people with autism, then it would help a lot with the wait time and the money it costs. I would promote it in a way that doesn't infantilize, like, I don't know the word, infantilize us. Even with people with, like, shut the fuck up, even with people who have, like, the really bad arm curling, non-functioning autism, they shouldn't be babied, and I feel like that should be talked about a lot. I feel like a lot of advertisements just kind of say, a lot of people just kind of give us what we want instead of trying to help us become, part of society. So I think that I would
integrate yourself. Yeah,
I would definitely focus on the integration part.
Well, I think the most important thing is like obviously spectrum. I think it's super important. Like I don't know why people act like just because of autism they can't form their own opinions, their own like thoughts. Like.
I'm so sorry the video is so long, but this next part is very personal, and it was very difficult for her to speak all of this, so I'd please request you all be respectful. Thank you.
Hello everybody, I'm with Jane.
Hello.
She is autistic. I have only one question to ask her compared to everyone else. Tell me your story.
Being a generation older than the other two girls that have spoken, I've absolutely experienced getting a diagnosis completely differently. From teenage years, being medicated for depression, and then medication for psychosis and bipolar and all different labels. Because over the years, really, an autism diagnosis meant that it was obvious to see, and if it wasn't, you didn't obviously display autism. Further up the spectrum, you didn't fit the criteria. Whereas somebody that, especially as a woman and as a girl, that you mask, I was mute for most of my younger years. So a generation later, everything got missed. I think the internet now is a massive break forward for autism awareness. I think now, for children in this generation now, it's so important to get a correct, proper diagnosis in their younger years. Because I had to have a lifetime of being told I was bipolar, I was this, I was that, and then being medicated for it, where you just literally go into shutdown and you don't function for months on end. Because you're given a label, every time you're reacting to a situation, you get frustrated with yourself and say, oh, I'm this, I'm bipolar, it's because I'm bipolar, it's because I'm this, it's because I'm that. And then you react totally attacking yourself because you believe that you're all these labels. Whereas getting a proper neurological diagnosis means it's just the way you are. It's just the way you are.
And what age did you finally get your correct autism diagnosis?
I was almost 50 years old before I got to see the correct people.
So that entire time leading up to that diagnosis, you'd been falsely medicated.
Yep, yeah, and for the first time in my life, I was first medicated at 16 because I would just cry every time I left the house. I was trying to go to college. I would just cry if somebody came near me because of smells, because of sounds. It was all too much for me. So from 16 until then, over the years, lots of different medications. I have never had to have medication since my diagnosis, because now if something overstimulates me, I'm out and about, I just go home. And I come home and I think it's okay, I just need to sleep and I'll be alright after, instead of coming home and wanting to self-harm because I think there's something wrong with me. I spent years of self-harm behind closed doors. Nobody ever knew it. It was well hidden because I didn't think that I was normal. And after a diagnosis, and I know it's just how I'm a super sensitive, so instead of attacking myself, I come home, I recharge, and then I go again. So I don't think I've ever been as happy and as content as I am now. So to get a proper diagnosis as how your brain functions is so important for children that are struggling. This is about autism awareness, and I think so much is on the internet. I think a lot of children see traits, so then they believe they're in that category when they're not. There's so much information that people do actually see themselves and get the right help and the right support, and I don't think medication is it. I think understanding yourself is it. It's such a massive area. It's such a massive spectrum. And I'm not the same person 2 days on the trot. So, awareness is so much more is needed, but I think the younger generation definitely have a lot more than my generation.
Thank you very much for your time, Jen. I very much appreciate it.
I'm now going off to cry because that was so hard.